Oh my gosh, look at that. Wow. It literally shaved off part. Yeah, look how bent that is. Holy mackerel. In this video, we're working on the Cat FUB R C9 engine. And if you don't know what FUB R is, well, I'll just say look it up. What's going on with it? Well, this engine has so many problems. So many weird things and things I've never had to do to get an engine apart. It's not even easy to describe how many. So you just have to watch the video to find out. What you're going to find, as you can see, some of the stuff we're finding already is pretty bad. It's going to be a pretty long, in-depth video. Hope you enjoy. Hey guys, Josh with the Update Channel, and today what we've got here is a Cat 9.3. C9, at least that's what I call it. And what am I doing to it? Well, the other day, Garrett, over at Powell Enterprises in Priest River, gave me a call and said, Josh, I've got a 9.3 Cat in my shop. I'd like you to come work on it. So I got in my van, and here I am. So what is this? Well, it's very common to the Cat C9S, at least me looking at it. It's out of a piece of equipment, a log loader, so it's not exactly the same as the truck engines, but I've worked on C9s before. From what I can see, it's pretty much the same thing from the truck C9, other than it's common rail, like the C9S, and it doesn't have a VGT turbo. It has a balance valve turbo. So he said it has some drop valves. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't pulled any parts off yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to tear it down, pull the valve cover off, obviously. First, drain the oil out of it, take a look at it, and most likely rebuild it. So let's get started. So as you can see, it's pretty assembled here. Now, Garrett had pulled the head off, and then he put it back on, and then he pulled it out of the machine. I wasn't there for pulling it out of the machine. So as you can see, valve covers are on. Some of the stuff's already off, the fuel lines to the injectors or quill tubes, fuel lines to the, from the pump to the common rail, some of the fuel return lines. And yeah, so I'm getting the valve cover off. C9s don't have valve cover bases. They just have a really tall valve cover. And this video is going to be a little longer than most of the videos I usually make. I usually shoot for around 20 to 25 minutes on videos, folks. But if you like these longer style ones, which this one's going to be, I think, close to 50 minutes, just let me know. If you like the shorter ones, let me know too, because I'm here trying to make videos you guys want to watch. So pretty dirty in here. But if you look at number 4 there, yeah, number 4, we got some not good things going on here. As you can see, the valve spring is no longer connected. I mean, there it is. It uses an inner-outer valve spring deal, but they kind of need to stay on the valve, you know. Valve is L stucco. Weird. So these are the only bridges that I know that have reliefs for the injectors, if you look at them, because the injectors sit really close to the valve springs on the C9. So they have reliefs there. At least the Huey ones did. I don't know on the common rail ones if it matters as much, because you see the gaps here around the injector. Yeah, it might be, I don't know on the common rail ones. Yeah, that's not good. Oh, there's a keeper. Looks like right there. Well, I think he said he had pulled the head and put it back in. Yeah, he must have, because it's got, most of the head bolts are missing. There's a lot of garbage in here. Look at all this junk. We're gonna have to frickin' take this head off. So, all right, well, let's get to it. So you might notice I took my Powell hat off. It's, I don't want to get it dirty. It's too nice. I got my dirty old cat hat on now. These are a 16 millimeter 12 point. It's kind of an unusual head bolt size, at least for a cat. Usually bigger. Don't know what. Look like M16 bolts to me. So C13s also use M16, 16 millimeter size, but theirs is a 15/16 or a 24 millimeter head. It's kind of weird that I have such a small diameter head bolt. Garrett said he had some problems getting some of the head bolts out, so got a bit of gunk on these head bolts, if you can see. Disgusting. Yeah, looks like we're, what I can tell, looks like we're ready to pick her up. Alright guys, so we got our rig to pull the head here. We got our 2-ton lifting block. I think that'll be enough for this head. Not sure the best place to pick this. There's a 10mm hole and there's some along here. So I'm going to use 10 here, 10 here, and this deal. The turbo's still on the head, so it might pick that way. I might have to use a chain hoist to level it. And then I've got these speed horses. They're supposed to hold quite a bit. Let's say a pair is 1,600 kilograms, which is, what, over 3,000 pounds. Yeah, 3,600 pounds as a pair. So I'm assuming this C9 head probably weighs 300 pounds maybe with the turbo. So should be pretty good there. Let's pick this head. So yeah, using our chain fall hoist here and getting her picked up there. Didn't have to reposition it, but it was kind of hanging up on the rear dowel, so just had to set it back down real quick and get her picked up twice. So yeah, just raising it up. I already got those sawhorses over there. I've actually used those for C15 heads also, if you've seen my other videos. And so this little C9 head, which, like I said, probably about 300 pounds opposed to the 600 pound C15 head, should not be a problem. See, I put plastic caps on pretty much all the fuel lines and stuff that I could after. Of course, they were already removed when I came in, but, you know, do the best you can, folks. The turbo hangs really low here, so getting it positioned properly can be a little tricky. Gonna get the head gasket off of here, and we're going to have our own little destruction of the week here. Have our own destruction of the week this week, so all sorts of stuff in there, but yeah, that's pretty bad. Look at an O-ring there. That's good to know. Don't forget that guy, I guess. Yeah, that's real bad. How's the cylinder? No, well, you don't usually see the valves stacked into each other and the piston. That's not what you see too often. Got some embedded material here also. I gotta find out what the bore is here for a ring compressor, because I don't have, obviously it's not a 5.4 inch bore, it's much smaller, so I need to get a ring compressor. Wow, that one's, it's weird that there's not much debris in this one, but there is in this one. Must be due to the firing order. But wow, yeah, look at that. Oh wow, that's really stuck in there. This sucker's really bad. So another thing I need to check is these lifters while we're here. Notice there's a lot of metal and debris in there also. But yeah, it definitely has liners. That's kind of weird, huh? Alright, well, not good. I'm going to have to, let me set the head. I'm going to have to drain the oil out, because it does have oil in it. And then pull the pan and see what else is going on. So these are the lifters you can see for the first 3 cylinders here. So cylinder 1, if you look where they kind of sit with the spring clips, there's like gunk in a couple of them. It looks old, like coolant, some rust and oil have mixed there. And the spring clips, I know on the truck engine ones were, they could break and then that would destroy your camshaft and the lifter. They're pretty easy to get out. You have to have the head off, obviously, but the head off, you really just pull up on the spring clip and it'll just pull right out just like that. So I'm not sure where that debris was coming from though. It looks old. Not usually a mechanic's favorite job, pulling the oil pan here. Although I do prefer pulling it than putting it back on, I must say. Alright, only a couple more bolts here. Sure. Usually, when there's only a couple left, you want to hold it up because you don't want it to tilt one way with just one bolt on one side. You could crack the pan that way, which is not optimal. The cat pans aren't super heavy, generally speaking. It was not tight, so. Yep, there we go. Alright. Nothing like dirt in your mouth. Good to the last drop, as they say. Okay. There we go. Oh, good. I'm hopeful I can get the pan out without having to lift the engine up off the pedestals. Unsurprisingly, there looks like there's some metal debris in there. So if I can't get the pan out, what I can do is pull the pickup sump off. It's still draining a little bit, so I might wait. Look in there though. Some debris. What's going on there? It's like some weird. Ew, what the heck? That's weird. What's going on there? I don't know. I didn't see any water come out with the oil. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Look, some of the lifters too had some weird moisture stuff, but of course, never know the full history on these. I'll let that drain and then we'll pour out. So right after I turned the camera off, I was like, okay, let's pull the pan out here. Saw this. On the sump. That's not good. That's not part of a valve. I might be saying, now if you're saying, well, maybe that's part of a piston skirt or something. Piston skirts are almost always aluminum. And this is here to the magnet. Well, there's even a bigger piece there. Maybe it's the bottom of a liner, something like that. Maybe these have steel skirts or something. Makes me nervous. This makes me nervous though. It's crinkled. It's thin, like bearing material or something. I don't know. Leave it there for now. Still waiting for this thing to stop draining. Take a look here, because if it's got a spun bearing or something, that changes this whole trajectory. Well, it changes it on any job, but then you have to change the crank, which means you have to pull the structures. A lot of times at that point, it's easier to just get a whole new engine. So, yeah. So without looking up the bore here, I measured it's about 4.5 inches here. on the bore. I'm not sure the millimeter equation there. It's probably 110 or 115, something like that. Bore size. But I do have, for a ring compressor, I've got this crinkle cut guy that I purchased, and I've never really used it other than on some very small, I forget even the size. It was like a 3-liter skid steer engine. It worked. Might have to use it for this. I did find some damage to the liners already on the bottom, which might be some or all of the giant pieces of metal in the pan. So, got our cooling jet up there. But more importantly, look at that. And that part of the liner is broken. This one too. So that's we're looking at number 3 right now. And number 4. That's a pretty crazy damage. Hopefully nothing, I don't see anything. Damage to the block there. Hopefully nothing. I'll have to get the liners out and take a look though. It's pretty scary. But yeah, so next step is get our cooling jets out. Well, let me get back to, there we go. So we can get our cooling jets out. Those guys. And then we'll pull our, these look like fractured rods. They're definitely fractured rods. There's no seam, no noticeable seam. They're offset too, which are always weird because if you don't know what I mean, so the bolts, instead of going straight up and down, they're on an angle. So the rod is not uniform. It is with the cap on, but yeah. So next step, get the cooling jets out, and then we'll get the rod caps off. All right, guys. So we got the cooling jets out, and we rotate the engine around. Holy mackerel! Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So I think we'll get these two out. Remember, the liners are broken on 3 and 4 here. Let's get them to bottom. Okay, now we'll take the caps off and pull these liners out. Or, well, pistons out first. Hey guys, so getting ready to push the pistons up, and I usually use this. In fact, I've had this dead blow a long time, and I think I've only, well, not only, but almost exclusively used it for pushing pistons up. It has a nice big head to grab. It's long enough that you can push up C15, C13. I don't know if I'll need that on the C9 because obviously the stroke is less. Might use this dead blow. Impact Polyhammers out of Canada has actually sent me this, shoot, like a year and a half ago. I think I used it in a couple videos with them. They make pretty good dead blows. But anyway, it's a shorter handle, so I might use it for that. We'll see how much space we get. You might be saying, Josh, aren't you hot? Isn't it just turning fall here? Well, folks, we had a frost warning here in North Idaho this morning. It was 39 degrees at about 5 a.m. this morning. So the shop here is a little cool, we'll say. But yeah, let's get these rod caps off and get some of the pistons out and take a look. So we got 3 and 4 on bottom of the stroke here. It's a 15 millimeter 12 point. Not sure the torque spec on these yet. Obviously, don't need to know it for removal. But I was wondering if the 3/8 gun would take these off. I'm pretty sure the 1/2 inch will. And these are what they call fractured rods. So they appear to be. So broke free pretty easy. That's what I figured would happen. I am a little concerned due to the, these are not very big bolts at all. I wonder if my 3/8 will take them off. So this is number 4, the most damaged one. Well, the bearing looks good. I mean, it fits fairly loose. I wonder if that thing was going to spin, because it fits quite loose in there, but not really much damage that I can see on the bearing. Bearing looks pretty good. The journal looks good. Let's move it away here. Oh boy, maybe I can't. There we go. Upper. So of course, although, whoa. Get into the brass there. I wonder if that's just going to be on this one due to the damage to the piston. But yeah, it was, these are weird because, you know, normally you get wear in the middle of rod bearings. This one, since it sits on an angle, you get so much more wear on this end. And I wonder why they put this oiling hole right on the load side. I don't know if these feed oil up to the wrist pin. Not all pistons do. But it's weird. You wouldn't think you'd want the loaded side to have a big hole in it. But, you know, I'm not an engineer, so what do I know? So we got that puppy out. Let's get our little Milwaukee 3/8 and see if it'll take these off. I bet it will, because they're not very big bolts. All right, here we go. So we've got our 3/8, which this gun's pretty impressive. It's the M12. I've got the 3 amp hour battery on here. I use the heck out of this gun. Let's see, I bet it will. Oh, I don't think it is. Maybe not. No, that's too bad. Sure, they have a heavier duty one, but of course the half inch takes them out without even barely hammering. But this one does main bearings, so not too surprised. So we got number 3 here. No damage that I see on there. What about our upper situation? Same thing, wear on the, I don't know if I can roll this one out. This one's not coming out quite as easily, but yeah. You know what's weird on this engine? The cooling jets are on the intake side. Almost all the cats are on the other side. I wonder why they do that on this guy. I don't know, but they do. So let's push these up and get them out. Now we're almost certainly not reusing these rods, but never want to damage them. So we'll go for number 3 first. That's why I use these dead blow. Because you can't, you know, the polymer is obviously softer than the connecting rod. Similar. Okay. This could be interesting because these pistons are pretty freaking beat up. Whoa, what's going on here? Do they have? Huh. It's coming. Is the connecting rod end bigger? No, that can't be. I say, is the connecting rod end bigger than the liner? I don't think so. Wow, look at that. I don't know if you can see that, but the liner here is gone. Look at that.
I mean, what the hell is going on?
I mean, you've got to be able to pull the... I wonder if the bottom of that liner's smashed and it's oblong or something. So I can't seem to get it up. Weird. Interesting. Let me try number 4. Here the ring's coming. Oh, there we go. That liner's... Oh my God. No, that one fit fine. Something up with that. Well, this one then. Yeah, so the numbered side is towards the intake side. Interesting, huh? I wonder why this one's not coming out. That one did. Look at that sucker. Holy mackerel. But piston remained intact. Let's set this down and try to get number 3 out. I'm pretty sure the rod's not supposed to look like that. I could be wrong, but that's looking pretty bent to me. God, how much force. Yeah, look at that. Where that it must have bent and then it hit the liner, broke it. So crazy. I wonder if that's why we can't get 3 out. Interesting. All right, folks, so we got all the other ones out. Number 2 was a pain in the butt because there's rust. Well, there was rust. Oh, you frickin' glove. I hate when they rip. There was rust up here. So I'm going to pull number 1 liner. Well, that's plain. So this is a universal liner puller. You've seen me use it on C15s if you've watched the channel. It's almost any wet liner engine, so it's just got these hooks. Spring-loaded kind of deal. They'll grab the bottom of the liner. So all we're going to do is tighten this guy. Now, if I remember right, the C9 only has a single liner seal. Could be wrong. Basically, all we have to do is pull the liner up a little bit. If you watch here, you should see it pull. Yep, there you go. So that was pretty easy, actually, compared to, like, say, a C15. Now, normally you get some coolant running down, because there's always coolant in the engine. Not sure if that's going to happen on this guy. Looks like this. Didn't hear any. Move it over to a different cylinder. These liners are really thin, so I don't want to pull it the whole way because yeah, now I remember. So it's got to go through 2 different seal slots now that I remember. Just kind of a goofy design. So it'll come up this far. And then if I remember right, you have to pull it again. Which is a weird design. Yeah, I think. Yeah. I'm recalling now these suck because you have to pull them 2 spots. So what I mean is there we go. Oh gosh, that thing's heavy. I got a lot of rust on this guy. So yeah, single seal. Man, there's a lot of rust on this. So there's only coolant in this area here. Yeah, so the problem is this seal, there's only a single O-ring. It hits here. Well, it hits here actually. And you have to pull it up there. If I remember right, when you're pressing it in, you have to work it down and then set it and then go for it. Man, he's got a lot of rust in this engine. Yeah, I don't know who. Not the best cooling system. Let me zoom in here. I mean, look at the rust buildup. That's really bad. Really bad. Look inside the cooling jackets. My gosh. You don't see rust that bad very often. That head bolt hole's not looking too good. Yeah, that's going to be a pain to clean. Yeah, that's really nasty. I wonder if on the deck here is rusted out. That sucks if it does, if it is. So we still got to figure out how to get this guy out. So a couple things I was thinking of, because it does not come out. Might have to get a bottle jack underneath, push up on the liner, and if we can release the liner from the block, hopefully it'll come out with the piston and the liner all as one. Let's see. Well, our bottle jack idea didn't work. It was just lifting up the engine, which I guess, you know, this engine does not weigh 2,000 pounds with the head off. See, I was just picking up the engine. What I did is I did that race punch and put it on there on the liner, and yeah, gonna need something with more force. So I'm thinking, which let me use my little crinkle cut, call it the Ruffles have ridges compressor here, that maybe if I slide the piston back in, put the connecting rod on, or the cap on, if there could be a way to get the piston to stick to the liner, maybe like weld a bead in there or something, like just here. I don't really want to weld inside the engine, but if I could do that, and then it would catch the liner, it might push the liner up, and then I could pull the assembly out. I don't know. If I had the cylinder liner pullers, that would work also. Trying to think what else could grab. Maybe like a 3-jaw puller where you have the type that expands out. I don't think it would really dig in enough, but I might be able to do that and then push with the piston. Not sure there. I don't know. Kind of at a loss here. This is a unusual situation I haven't had in all my years. Should be. Looks like our rings are compressed. I'm not sure why. Maybe they're not compressed enough. I don't know. Should be. Looks like it's seated there. Okay. The rod journal's over the rod, so it should go down. I might have to mess around with this ring compressor a little more. But yeah, that's the idea for now. Get it back in there. If I can't with the ring compressor, I'll just pull the rings off. But let's try some more ideas. All right, guys. So after some deliberating and some thinking and a couple of phone calls, I think I know now what I must do.
I know now what I must do.
So with the rod being bent, I don't think I'll be able to get the rod out, even if I were to get the liner out, because it's so bent, I believe, that even with the liner out, I don't think we'd have enough room, because the bottom of the liner is very thin, so even removing it, you're not going to give yourself much additional space. So I think the only thing we're going to have to do, or could do, is cut part of the rod cap off. Not rod cap, sorry, part of the rod. The cap end, though. So what I'm going to have to do is get a die grinder, cover everything up, all the rod journals, anything that we don't want to get dirty, basically, underneath the engine, like the cooling jet locations, stuff like that. And then, yeah, I'm going to basically have to cut part of the rod off to get it up out of there. What a pain in the butt. But let me get it all taped off, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. All right, guys, so we're ready. I've marked it. I put this hose here to kind of push it that way. Looks like we have enough room to cut. I pulled the mains adjacent to it. I have capped the oil port for the main, taped it off. Taped the main oil port, all the cooling jets, holes. Oop, you can see them. Taped. And I also wrapped all of the rod journals. So, not sure how else I would do much better. I'm going to go slow, and we'll get her off of here, hopefully. Yeah, so I never had to do this before. I've heard of having to cut the rods out, but my gosh, there is not much room here. So what I did, as you can see, I wrapped all the rod journals. I taped off the oil ports on the main, the number 2 main, number 3. Number 4 doesn't have an oil port because it's the center main, so it doesn't supply oil to any adjacent rods. And as you can see, I put an orange mark, so it's kind of a guide mark there for where I'm cutting. And really, I just need to make this rod, at least the end here, not be as wide, since the rod, at least from what I can guessing at least, is bent. At this point, obviously, you can't see that the rod's bent necessarily from underneath, especially with the crank in. So I also taped off the cooling jet ports. I taped off you can see the duct tape there on the right. That's where the oil feed goes into the block from the oil pump. Yeah, and just going slower. Didn't want to nick the crank. Obviously, that would be really bad. Pretty tight area here. I could have tried to cut a little down farther, but the way the rod end is, if I cut much further down on the rod, it wouldn't have actually made it much narrower, just the way it's offset. So I kind of had to cut this off. And using the electric here is kind of a pain, because this is an electric die grinder, and it doesn't like producing a lot of torque, so if it gets bound, it stops. So this is obviously sped up. Took, tapping it there, seeing it took, I think, about 30 minutes with changing blades and having to charge the battery to cut it off, and just being super careful here. But at this point, you can see I'm pretty deep into it, and to cut clear through on both sides, there's very little left. There's probably maybe a 1/4 inch round area that was still holding this part of the rod cap on. Obviously, not much of a core left on this rod, but got her. Yes.
Way to go, dude!
For all that work. Oh my gosh, look at that. Wow. It literally shaved off part. Yeah, look how bent that is. Holy mackerel. Yeah, no wonder why it wasn't coming out. So there it is with our little customization. But yeah, look at that rod. Oh my gosh. So my next big fear is getting this liner out. I don't know if, because it's down here at the block section here, it definitely broke there. Hopefully when I pull that liner out, it's the block's not damaged, or I can even get the liner out. Maybe it's all warped and smashed, I don't know. Well, moment of truth. I remember number 3 wasn't even that bad as far as the damage went. It was number 4 that was really screwed up. No. Yeah, that's cracked. Liner's so really thin. There, dang. What the heck is going on here? The rust. Is the block cracked or anything? No. It's any weirdness with the block, really. That's number 3. So finally to get the liner out here. And yeah, 3 and 4 were broken there at the bottom from the liners hitting them, which is weird. I'm not sure why 3 had such a bad bent rod, because that 3 piston wasn't that bad. Number 4, obviously, really bad, but kind of weird. So kind of at the conundrum now on what to do. Would you trust rebuilding this engine? We've got tons of rust in the cooling jackets. We've got sludge in the oil pan that's probably been there for a long time. We've got rust built up around some of the lifters. We have 2 bent rods. Drop valve, obviously, the head's totally junk. My guess is what's going on? Obviously, a lot of metal went through this engine. Some bent rods. None of the bearings were spun. None of the rods or mains were spun. Obviously, you can't see the cam bearings here, but the cam itself looked okay. Would you rebuild this engine? Is it worth saving money trying to rebuild it, or do you think we should just replace it at this point? Let me know your thoughts on that. So yeah, that's a pretty long video, very in-depth, and at this point, we're pretty much torn down. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.